mentions all the men who went to Europe that are not real refugees and ended up raping lots and lots of German women and other women. That's not to be discussed, okay? That we have to be politically correct, the poor refugees. But a lot of them, that's what they're doing over there, okay? And another thing, everybody's talking about the natives all committing suicides, 10-year-old kids committing suicides, and they're pretending, oh, we're sending in Carolyn Bennett. She used to be my doctor 20 years ago. Now she's in charge of Native Affairs. I don't know. Anyway, she's going up there, and they're all going up there and doing another study about why this is happening. Well, okay, the refugees, they've spent $30 million on plane fares alone to get them here. But the natives, and the mines are up there, and the De Beers people are dragging out all kinds of resources. The natives never see any of it. They're isolated on reserves. Most of the time the water's filthy. They have 10 families to a house sometimes, 4 at least. The kids have no future, they have no hope. They figure, let's just die, okay? That's our own natives here. But meantime, oh yes, have them all over on planes. Now, I'm not saying that isn't good to do. Yes, it is. But if your own children, let's bring it down to units, if your own children are starving and dying, and you're having strangers coming in, and half the time you don't know who they are, sorry. A lot of those so-called refugees are raping a lot of women. Hundreds. And over New Year's, under the fireworks are all going off, noise, 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 200 or 300 women raped, okay? So a lot of these guys are leaving their families, or they don't have families. Please, let's start using our brains. So 30 million, but the natives, nobody can figure out, since the history of this country, the residential schools, tearing them from their parents. Their culture means nothing, just rip them out. They don't get any percentage of what's taken from their land, okay? What they get is, they get arsenic in their rivers from the gold, arsenic, all kinds of things that are killing them. No wonder they want to die. The mental illness even comes from what goes into your body. If your body is full of poisons, your brain is an organ in your body. It's not something up there. These people are idiots. Oh, another big, and they'll spend millions on another study. Morons. So politically correct, you don't say anything about that. You don't mention that the natives are treated like, not even as well as pets. Pets aren't treated. They're treated like people. The natives are treated like they're some subhuman because they don't appreciate our music, they don't have Schubert, Mendelssohn, they don't do math, but they're very spiritual people. They've got the brains when it comes to religion. They're not buried under piles of thousands of books written by silly men, all the different religions, and women don't count. The natives believe in a universal spirit, and when they take something, they give thanks. They're not into greed, but that's not good. And because they have that philosophy, they're easy to abuse, okay? And that's what's happening. So, please. I'm a Newfoundlander anyway. I wasn't born a Canadian, and sometimes I think that's good. Because we don't think the same, no. And I think one of the 2 premiers that they had in Newfoundland, they were very gutsy men. They were not typical of premiers and what they do at all. So now, we'll get down to, first of all, a few incidents that happened to me. So, as you can tell by the back of the schedule, at 18 I was ready for the UN, okay? I went to high school here. I had 4 years of Parisian French. I had academic. I learned shorthand as an option, and I learned typing as another option. And when I went to the UN, it took 3 days of tests. I ended up in their press department. So that's where I started. And that was back in 57. I was 18. I was 18 in 37, no, that was 55. I went there, and I had 3 different jobs, and I was promoted, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I did. And my first job was in the Australian delegation to the UN. I went to the UN every day, and I took notes, and nobody else could read my shorthand. So for months, I was doing that. I had books and books, and only I could read them. And then they said to me one day, well, Sydney, you're going to have to sign, you can sign this paper, whatever it was. And they said, you're over 21, right? And I said, no, I'm 18. Well, the whole place was in an uproar. Why? I was not liable. I could have blabbed my big mouth about every note, every report. I could have sold it, given it away, talked on the air. They couldn't have done a thing. I was not liable for what I knew because I wasn't 21. So there was a big hoo-ha, and I stayed there till the end of the term because I had a pile of books. And they said, not your fault, we just didn't think to ask you because I looked so sophisticated. In the 50s, women all looked like Doris Day, okay? I had short platinum hair, I was dressed to the nines, so they thought I was a lot older. So my next job was at the UN directly, into the press department. And my next job after that, I was promoted to the British Information Services, Rockefeller Plaza, and we were right underneath the MI5 was on top of us with all the spy stuff. This wasn't that long after the war. It was very interesting. So now you have the background. So one night, I went out to this, there was all kinds of parties. It was a very glamorous life, okay, very glamorous. So we come out of the party, I'm with 2 guys that work with me. I was in the media press department. Come out, and I had my notes, and I was always doing secret stuff, secret, don't talk about it. So I had, in those days, women were carrying these stupid purses that looked like horses' feed bags, like a bucket. So in the bucket, I had my shorthand notes. And we were coming out of a party up around 86th Street, and suddenly we were surrounded by 4 very athletic-looking thugs who pushed us, and they knew who we were, pushed us into an enormous lobby around the corner of a big old apartment building. And they were frisking the men, and they were groveling around in my bag to get my notes. Stupid, they didn't know they were in shorthand. They saw the papers, the books, they wanted them. And I heard one of the men, there were four big guys, and one of them said, there's the basement door over there. We'll shove her down there and we'll rape her and then we'll stab her. And I heard them say that. So having taken a few lessons, at one point I was interested in opera. And I went and then I thought, no, I really like jazz. I don't want to, opera bores me. But I always had the volume. So the guy had, some of you have heard this before, had 2 hands behind my back. The 2 men, they were no help. These guys had never seen a gym, okay? They were no help to me. So I'm there, my hands are behind my back, and the other one's groveling in the bag, and the hand that was over my mouth, I bit it as hard as I could, and I let out one yell. It didn't even sound like a woman, it sounded like some bestial, huge beast. And everybody threw their windows up, and everybody was looking down, and these men, and they couldn't open the basement door. He's trying to yank on the door, and it wasn't opening, thank God. And everyone threw their windows up, and they didn't help. You know what they did? This was back in 57. Be quiet down there, what's going on? So the guys took off, and I was still alive, and I had enough adrenaline. I ran 40 blocks, better than Roger Bannister ever did. I ran those 40 blocks, I had all the breath I needed. Right to the tunnel, took the bus to my place through the tunnel, because I had an apartment on the cliff near the tunnel. And the next morning I went into work, didn't say a thing except to myself, you stupid, how could you be so stupid? Don't carry your notes and go to a party after work. Anyway, I got in there and about noon, my adrenaline left me and I was like, I have to go home now. So I went home, I didn't tell anybody, except there was a girl there I worked with. So that was a very early experience. And that smartened me right up. I thought, okay, I don't know why they wanted the notes in the bag. They didn't take a nickel. They did not want money. They wanted those notes, and when they said the plan out loud, that was it for me. I mean, even if I did the same kind of yell today, they would hear it on college, okay? So that's what happened. Then, when I decided I wanted to go to Australia, just a couple of little things, and I got down there, the U.S. consulate embassy offered me a job. They said, come and see us, you've got the right background. And he said, I've got the perfect job for you. And I said, okay, what is that? We're gonna send you to the Russian embassy. This was at the Cold War, the height of the Cold War, about 1960. I spent 2 years in England, then I went 2 years in Australia. And he said, and you're gonna meet me every week at my club, and you're going to take notes, which I wouldn't have done anyway. You're going to meet me once a week, and you're going to tell me what's going on there in the Russian embassy. And he gives me all the instructions, assumes I'm going to take the job. So I said, wait a minute, how do you even know that there is a vacancy there? And he said, well, because the girl that's there is gone. And I said, well, where is she? And he said, we don't know. So I said, fine, I don't think I need this job. And so those are the kind of things, if you're young and you're naive, which I was not after 3 years in New York, I might have taken that offer. So yes, it's glamorous. Yes, it's fun. You meet interesting people, but you also have people that they want what you're doing. And they'll do any means to get it. And I did a lot of confidential work. Yes, I did. And I was at the UN during the Hungarian failed revolution, during the Cuban revolution, during the Suez crisis. I was there. And the Cuban revolution, two of my best friends, they didn't know the revolution was happening. They took off and went to Cuba. They flew down there to get married and have a honeymoon there. And back then, you could actually, because this was before the revolution, come on. So they were there. They were there one day, and we got the news, oh, Castro's come in. And we're sitting there going, okay, they're dead. We don't know what's happening because we believe the American news. And they came back, we thought they were gone. They came back in 2 weeks and they said, we had a wonderful honeymoon. People were dancing in the streets. People were throwing roses at Castro. Everybody loved him. They wanted him in. We had a ball. So they said we'd lie on the beach in the day and there'd be soldiers on the beach looking towards America, expecting an invasion. But she said they did nothing about us, the tourists. We had a wonderful time. They were just getting ready, thinking they were going to be invaded right away because Castro was in there. So there you have the real story. But we were worried sick. Okay, they're dead now. Forget about the wedding. We won't be seeing them. And Castro couldn't have cared less. He came in. They threw roses at him. They described the whole thing to us. They said it was like a big party. People were rushing up to hug him, throwing the roses. Everything was wonderful. And they said we had the best honeymoon. It was wonderful. So that's what happened in the Cuban Revolution. So now we'll get on to things that come up a bit closer. Now, how many of you here have heard of David Icke? How many? Oh, quite a few of you. Okay. Well, David Icke and I became friends, I guess it was about 15 years ago. And I'll just give you a couple of incidents here. He came here, and these seminar people in Montreal called me. They said, well, you know him. well, he, phone calls and whatever. I said, yeah, I know him. And they said, look, we need a place for him to give a talk. And I said, well, there's a Unitarian. I lived on St. Clair. I'll get that place for you. So they said, okay, that's nice of you. And I took my own money and I went there the next day and I explained to the minister and she said, great, terrific, blah, blah. Next day, after the first night, and about 600 people were there, the very next day, somebody came from, I think it was Bernie Farber. I know Bernie Farber, and he's in charge of quite a lot. I've talked to him myself, personally, Bernie, about certain things. And his group, not him personally, but one of his group came and told the minister that David Icke was this and that and blah, blah, blah. And the next day I saw my name in the Star called an anti-Semite. So I called up the minister and I said, Madam, my in-laws are going to take a legal action against you, the Unitarian Church, you personally. And she said, why? And I said, they're going to sue because they saw my name in the Star today as an anti-Semite. And I said, my in-laws are Jews. I married into a Jewish family. Father of my children is a Jew. They're very upset and they're going to sue you. So I said, please don't take the word of people who don't know anything about me. Anyway, they didn't, but they said, my God, isn't that horrible? We have to look in the paper and see that about our daughter-in-law. So some people who want to intimidate don't even bother to look into your background. They're that anxious to assassinate your character and do whatever. So we did get another room for Ike, and he did speak. It was way out in Mimico, whatever, because people had already paid for 2 nights. And then when he tried to leave Canada, it's all about the same time, I got a call from the airport, and he said, Sydney, they're not letting me get on my plane and get home. All they've done is give a talk. I've said nothing anti-Semitic. They've come to my talks. Now they're here. I'm at the airport. I can't get on my plane. I've been here 4 hours. So you have certain rights. People cannot detain you. Having no charge, no lawyer, you have no lawyer. He had to get on a plane. His fare was ready to go back to England. So I had to send a lawyer, not the constitutional lawyer. I sent a normal lawyer out to the airport, and finally he got on his plane. I mean, excuse me, that borders on police state. That's what that is called. That is a police state. And down there, you've got all the information you need on the tortures they're doing here, the secret trials. They're all down here. They've all gone through on bills. So that's what happened to him that time. Now, last February, I was told, she's a very well-known lawyer, famous. First name's Barbara. She phoned me last February and she said, Sydney, are you going away? I said, no, but my son and I would like to go south in maybe a month or 2. She said, please don't do it because David's coming here to answer. He has to stand trial here in Toronto. She said, nobody's told about it. Nobody knows, but about something in a textbook from 20 years ago. He's coming here to stand trial. And I said, well, she said, I might need you because you have helped him in these situations at different times. So I said, okay, I won't go away. Well, the last day of the month, I heard he was so afraid he'd be kept in a jail here and wouldn't see his children that he paid them off. Somebody, I think, named Warman was behind this. I don't know about him. I don't want to know about him, but it's all about money and intimidation. So then, of course, this is since I've been back here. Now, since I've been back here, I've written over 100 articles on politics and economics. I do not write for an ordinary newspaper? No. Discourse and Disclosure was national, and it only ended in 2005 when my editor died quite suddenly. She wasn't that old. Nobody would take over the paper, so that's what happened there. And the most recent thing, I think his name was the Amazing Randy. About 7 years ago, he libeled me on the net and had a whole page about me, and he sent 4 thugs. Some people were here, about 2008, 4 thugs to my class who approached me physically on the podium, and the men in the class stood up and they said, no, we'll take care of these guys. And I said, do not touch them, do not go near them, don't even do that. What they want to happen is that they can say they were assaulted in my class, and this class will have to end. So that was about 2007, and shortly after that, and the class I gave was about this. It was about this. CBC advertised it. About 200 people showed up because they wanted to know their rights. And the same week, right afterward, I had the thugs come to the next week class, and I had the Now magazine that gets all its millions from huge pornographic pictures, about 40 pages in the back. You don't want to leave it near a kid. And they banned my events in the Now. I was no longer allowed to have my events in the Now, but I was told by someone who worked there, because you discussed 9/11. And the Now has never done an article on that, and they don't like it being talked about. So you are no longer able to put your events in the Now. So I'm just giving you a few instances of what happens when you like facts. I don't teach theories in this class. I will give you facts. You can take them home, look them up, research them, whatever. And the school sees the papers I put out, and they have told me, they said, we can't understand it. We haven't been able to rebut you yet. Because I do this. I am a reporter. I don't theorize. I have to have facts. If they aren't facts, I won't give them to you. So there's so many reporters now who don't really give a damn about facts, and they just sort of go along with what their masters tell them to do. So another thing I want to discuss that really troubled me, when I was working in the States all those years, I had a house in Florida, and I used to go there in the winter, and I used to do my articles from Florida. Anyway, I used to listen to Art Bell. Does anyone remember or know who Art Bell is or was? He built the radio show that George Norrie now runs. How many here listen to George Norrie? Okay. This is how he got that show. Art Bell built it up from nothing, from a ham radio. He built it up, and they wanted it. So something terrible happened to Art Bell, and I heard him on his own program in Florida back in the 90s. He came on and he said, people want my show. I will have to get off the air. I'm going off the air because something terrible has happened to my son. Then he proceeded to tell everybody what happened to the son. He said, I have my son in a good school, he's 15, and a substitute teacher came to the school last week, and the substitute teacher somehow drove him across the state line, took him to a motel, and molested him, and the teacher had AIDS. That's called intimidation, censorship. It's all a form of censorship. Art was not saying what they wanted Art to say. So this is what happened to the son. I don't know to this day whether the son got AIDS, is still alive, or whatever. So Art was off the air for about a year. There were various fill-ins. And about 2 years, maybe 3 years later, he came back, was on the air again. Another horrible thing happened to Art. He came on the channel again, the radio again, and he said, my wife and I, Ramona was the first wife, she has asthma. She always carries these pens with her. He said, we went to Vegas. We were in the, like he had a big, what do they call them, these big things? Winnebago, like that. He said, we were in there and we went to Vegas for the weekend, not far from where he lived. And he said, she got an asthma attack and all her pens were missing. He said, I watched her die. Nothing I could do. And he said, you know what, everybody out there, I want to die myself. That's what he said. He said, I've had it. I can no longer go on. And months and months later, he had started talking to some woman in the Philippines and ended up remarrying, and they had a little girl. And he brought her back to the States and he started up again. All of a sudden he said, we're going back to the Philippines because my wife really misses her family. Excuse me, Art had enough money to move her whole town to, I think where they live, Nevada. He had enough money to move her whole family there. It wasn't that at all. And then they picked, then after that, a while after that, Nori, who was already talking on American radio shows, was finally picked after a few people filled in for a while. He was finally picked to take over. Art Bell today, I don't know if he has anything on any radio. Does anybody here know? Does he do anything on radio at all? Because he loved it, he built it up. That was his baby.
They're still bringing some of his programs, but they're...
Yeah, the old ones, yes. Yes, they're old ones. So that's what happened to Art Bell. He built that up from nothing, okay? And that's what happened to him. So tonight, we're talking about the reality of anybody who is involved with helping people by telling them the truth, helping them by what to do about the fallout that nobody discusses, which I will do when we do Fukushima. You people, I'm telling you, I call it the 11th commandment, thou shalt not know. That's exactly how you're treated. Not even as good as pets. So that's what has been going on. It's still going on, okay? It's still going on. So I told you what happened. The LaRouche people threatened my life if I went down there. To then the amazing Randy, then now, and then the varsity paper of this university about, I did classes on religion. And one night I'm doing, somebody came up to me and said, you know, some guy's taken about 50 pictures of you. I said, well, people have to ask my permission for that. I don't have people doing my pictures for nothing. So he came from the varsity, and he came up to the papers. He took one or two that suited him, and off he went. The next day I went to the varsity office. I brought him all the papers, and I said, I saw you in the class. You've taken a lot of pictures of me that I should not have allowed, but I didn't know. And you only took certain papers. I said, since you're so interested in this class, I brought all of the papers to you. I'd like you to read them. So anyway, he wanted to know what I did. And he said, you know, I've done the whole geology. I've got a degree in geology. Now I want to be a journalist. So I said, well, I'm sorry. I'm the old type of reporter. I still use shorthand. He says, what's that? So I had to draw him. I had to explain what shorthand looks like, okay? So I said, okay, I am. My name is. I said, it's all sound. No, it's vowels, it's sounds. It's English, it's all sounds, it's Pittman. You can never mistake one word for another. Oh, then he got all intrigued with that. So he said, you know what? Maybe I won't do an article on you. I said, well, at least you could do one that's true, not one that you come in here and grab a few papers and say what you want to say. So that was him. So there's always somebody that wants to intimidate you. And the last one I'll tell you, because I don't want to bore you with all this. The last time, who knows who Judith Very Baker is? The one that dated Oswald all that time and wrote the books. You know, she came here about, what, 3 or 4 years ago. And she asked me, she came to the conspiracy store to give a birthday for Oswald, because of course he had nothing to do with it. He would have been 75 or something, and I was there. And she said, why don't you come and interview me at the hotel where I'm staying? I'm having a big reunion with my family, because she's been in hiding for 35 years, in hiding in another country. So she said, now I'm back, and my whole family are coming to meet me. We're having a huge reunion at the hotel. I want you to interview me there. And I said, okay, that's lovely of you. My son and I went to that. And she said, come up to the top of the table. It was a huge reunion, 20 people at the table, all imbibing, and her dinner was the last one, and I was sitting across from her. And we were talking, and all of a sudden I saw blood coming out of her mouth and trickling. And I said, wait a minute. She said, you know what? My throat really hurts. And she put her fingers in her mouth, and she took something out. Her fingers were bloody, and it was glass. Was already down her esophagus, and the blood was coming out the mouth. So I called the manager. Nobody else noticed but me, because we were way up there talking. I called the manager. I said, please, put your hand in that plate. What do you feel in there? Because the sauce was covering whatever it was. And he said, oh my God, it's all glass, tiny pieces of glass. And I said, I want you to get an ambulance for this lady right now. She's an American. She has no money for OHIP here. And then she said to me, I won't go. I won't know whose ambulance it is. I won't go unless you come. So I said, okay, I will come with you in the ambulance. So we got out to the ambulance, and they speeded up to the hospital, and she went right into emerge. It took them all night to get all those pieces that were already down here. And nobody, as far as I know, they haven't found the person who was told or contracted to go and put that glass in there. Everybody had a different dish. She got hers last, very easy to pick that out. But nothing ever came of that. So that's what happened. That was only 3 or 4 years ago. And she had put a book out, and she's put a second book out since then. But that was her first time out of hiding from the time with Oswald. She'd already been married, had 5 children, and her cousins and all her sisters and brothers were at the hotel to have the reunion, and that's how it ended. So all I'm saying is, it's like the old Chinese curse. If you are a reporter and you have any morals or honor whatsoever, you are going to live a very interesting life. Yes, you are. I can promise you that, okay? So now we'll get into the various means. There's all kinds of surveillance. Now, how many people have used the Uber cars? Anybody yet? How many people want to work for Uber? How many people are going to invest money in a car so that they can work for Uber? I'll tell you the biggest investors in Uber. It's China and Google. And Google was reporting dissenters to China and getting them jailed when Google was over there years ago. Uber is not about taxis. Please understand. You have to get Uber with your phone. You have to use your financial cards, whatever they are, and you will be getting into a car with somebody who has not been screened properly, and they don't know how good a driver they are. They don't know who they are, and especially a woman journalist said, and it's on the net, and I agree with her, she said, I will not get in there. I am a woman. I don't know who it is. I don't know where they're going to take me. I know nothing. And I will not, as a woman, get in one of them. And as a matter of fact, they have assaulted people. Yes, they have. Uber drivers have assaulted quite a few people already.
In Toronto?
I'm not sure about Toronto, but look it up on the net. In several cities, was it Toronto? They have assaulted them, and here is the worst part. They use an app. They have to answer, it's right up on the dashboard. I'm doing an article on this, that's why I know this. They have to answer that app within 15 seconds. They don't, they lose the call. Do you know how many people they've knocked over while they're looking at the app? Yes.
If they happen to have signed up for like Uber Pool or something like that, which is the least paying, and they don't take those rides, they send them like threats.
Yes,
as well.
they do. They
And
do.
They have to either get off Uber or
Exactly.
pick it up and make
No,
money.
they do, and they will, once they have enough of them, they will not treat them decently. And remember, this is global. This is global. And although the cabbies don't want it, the people don't want it, you have to ask yourself, it's being forced on the people by the municipal. We're talking Tory here. He's all in favor of it. Why is something that's so dangerous and so loosely put together and is destroying people's lives as cabbies who have to pay a fortune and get properly screened and have all kinds of laws that's being forced all over the world? Why? Why? Somebody give me an answer here.
To get deeper into our lives and figure us all out, they have a little tracker.
Yeah,
on
you
your
sort of
phone
got it.
where you are.
It is, this is what it's doing. It is a database. It is collecting information. And let me tell you, one day, if they do what they're planning on doing and it assimilates so well that people can adjust to anything. I'm sorry. That's good for survival, but in other ways, maybe not. One day, and they have all the information. If they have your financial information, they have it all. Don't kid yourself. They have it all, okay? So you go to your door, you've hired the Uber, you get in the car, God knows where you will end up, okay? It's not just collecting data. In the end, it's going to collect you. And no one will notice because, oh, it's just another Uber car. Oh, yeah, everybody's using them, so what's special? That's what they want. It's for surveillance, collecting data, and possibly going on little trips that you never planned.
Purge.
That's why they're forcing it globally. And my article will be out in Victor's next paper. But that's why they're forcing it. It is a collection base, and that's what they're doing, okay? So, the next thing we got to here. Oh, and remember, tomorrow is the anniversary, the 19th and 20th of Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma bombing, Columbine, 1920 of April. All of them. Look it up. It's the anniversary tomorrow. And now tomorrow at Bates-Atune, I might as well tell you, the Council of Canadians is having a panel on the TPP. The TPP is the latest agreement. It's got 26 chapters. Only 2 of them are about trade. What are the rest about? This again. Your freedom on the net, your intellectual property. That's what the other 24 chapters are about. Please study that agreement. If you don't know anything, go to Bates-Atune tomorrow night. I think it's free, or pay what you can.
Is it just another big corporation takeover?
It's more than that. It's more than that. It's NAFTA. It's a constricted, even more constricted NAFTA, okay? Oh, sorry there. So that's what the TPP is. And it's going to have to do with your privacy, basically, the other 24 chapters. There's going to be no such thing. Now, I'll just read you this and then we'll get started on what you can do. If you're involved in anything involving facts, what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, this was about the natives, this piece here. And, oh, I gotta tell you this. On a Canadian plane, father and son watching 9/11 videos were yanked off an Air Canada plane a couple of years ago.
Wow.
watching videos yanked off the plane, okay? Because most people really, I really have to, I'm sad I have to say this, but most people do have the politically correct brain. You've got the paper there with the brain and all the diagrams in it. Most of them are. So, and about the net, please, please. My DVDs are on the net, but nothing personal to do with me is on the net. Now you have all these people. See, the sad thing is, they make it so that people beg them. I want you to know everything about me. I want this. I want to be on the net. I want to be in my bathroom, in my bathtub. I want everybody. I want my 15 minutes of fame. I want that. So, and people with their cell phones, okay, what if the government had said to you about 10 years ago, listen, we've got this law now, and we're going to give everybody this little phone thing. You have to carry it with you all the time. Now you can talk to other people with it, but we want to be able to track you with this phone wherever you go. Now if they'd come out and said that to people, we need you to have this phone and we need to track you and we need to know what you're saying to your friends. Come on. What you're doing this all day, we got to know what you're saying. So here they are. We want you to put it on now. How many people would have said okay to that? Oh my God, they're going to know everything I tell my friends. I got to wear it. I got to take it to bed with me. I got to carry it every day. Oh my God. No, that's not the way it's done now. This is how it's done now. You are important. You're just like these important people. They all have these because they are important. You, I'm sorry, we're debating. Sooner or later, you might be able to have one. But they're really for important people to say important things so that everything's convenient for those important people. That's all you have to say. And then everybody, oh my God, I want that. I want to feel important. I want to be respected. I want this gadget. Give it to me now. I'll even use it in my bathtub for my 15 minutes of fame on the net. I will have the phone and the net. And you will know everything about me. Even stuff you don't want to know. You will know. So this is a psychology that people get. And I'm going to pay for it. If it's $100 a month, whatever, somehow I'll work it out. I want the phone. I've seen people out in restaurants. They bring lovely food. They're all sitting together. And what do I see in 5 minutes? Everybody. They're not even talking to each other. You see how easily you can get people to get these things. And that's how they do it. You're important. You need a phone. So, now I'm just going to tell you, this, you may not like it, but this is a fact, okay? Information put on the net is collected by Apple, Verizon, Google, Microsoft, Skype, etc., and sold to the government, yes, and the banks, because they want to know the next thing they can push on you. They have to know at all times what your attitude is to what you know. And they also have to know what you know about them. They have to know what you know about what they're pulling over on you. It's getting to a ridiculous state. You want to know what they're going to do to you, and they have to know, in turn, what the hell you know about them. Oh, okay. So it's almost incestuous, okay? So they have a market. They can make money on what they know about you and what they can talk you into. Mostly it's about money. Secondly, it's about your privacy, okay? And then, if they think you're important enough, you will be, they can watch you night and day. without you even knowing that they're doing it. It's not like the old days where somebody had to go to a building across the way and take a microwave oven and rig it up and, buzz you through with EMFs. No. People are gladly, starting from a young age, people are gladly giving up every piece of information. I want to feel famous, okay? Like those weirdos, the Kardashians or whatever. They're absolutely nothings. And the whole world is hinged on what they do from day to day. It's, how can I study to be ordinary? I want to be ordinary like these people. So it's gotten that ridiculous. So now we'll get on to, if you're interesting enough, you might even have part in a secret trial if you're interesting enough. If you know people and one person, look at Mahar Harar, he was sent from here by the Americans to Syria, tortured for days, months on end. Why? Because he happened to have lunch with a third cousin of someone who was involved in intrigues. He merely had a lunch with this man, didn't even know who he was, what he was, and this is what happened to him. And of course they're suing now, and I hope they get a huge amount. And the information that's dug up by CSIS and the other 4 agencies, sometimes it's wrong. They pass on information to each other. They want to be promoted. They're all just people. So think about that. And they're interested in getting someone who's really important. That'll get me up the ladder. Then here's the other woman. Now I know this lady. Her name was O'Neill. She's a reporter, okay? And she had all these papers on what was happening to this poor man. And she had them in her house. She found out where he was and how he got there. I wouldn't ask how. You don't tell on your informant. If you're a reporter and someone tells you something, number one, you investigate them. Who is this person who's telling me this? Once you've investigated them and you know they're genuine, you never tell anybody who your source was. And that's why half the journalists in the U.S. are in jail. They're in jail because they won't tell. Because if they do tell, they will never get any information again. They will not. So they're between a rock and a hard place. And that's why so many of them are in jail. So once you make certain this is a genuine piece of information, you never give that person away. Never. Or you won't be a journalist anymore. So they came into her house. They took her computers, her files, every single thing she had. Just walked in, nothing, took it all, okay? So that is what you call a police state. So she sued them, in the end, she sued them because of what they did, and I hope she got an enormous amount. And the next thing I want to talk about is something that people won't talk about. And this is called, in the Human Rights Commission, there's one paragraph, there's one clause, there was a huge, not a fight, but everyone was totally disgusted because it proves it's a police state. And this clause is called, God, where's the chalk again? Can't find a goddamn piece of chalk. What's that stuff there? Oh, God, it's all falling down. I'll have to use this. This is horrible. So it's called Clause 13.1. Now, what does Clause 13.1 say in the Human Rights Commission? This was what all the argument was about, and I told you I talked to Bernie. Yes, I did. I went to the meeting for the Journalists for Free Speech about 2-3 months ago. Bernie was there. I said, okay, Bernie, what about this clause? It's being got rid of, hasn't it? Yes, it was in 2013. And he said, but a lot of us didn't want it to be got rid of. And what does it say? Listen, the truth is no defense. It doesn't allow for any defense for anybody. The truth is no defense, is what it said. And it took years to get it. 2013, they took it off. How in God's name, in a justice system, can there be a clause that says the truth is no defense? And I've heard other people, and I don't remember who said it now, but this is true. This is true. One of the constitutional lawyers, not Rocco, but somebody else in the justice system said, I'm quoting him, of all the democracies, Canada has the least, unquote. And that's why Ike did not come to go to the so-called trial. He knew there was no hope, he would have lost. And he couldn't afford what the small kids to be spending 2-3 years in jail. Canada has gotten quite ridiculous when it comes to the justice system and the law. So, and also, the Human Rights Commission, that clause, and I'm reading you this, is also a violation of Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's another document. That's our original document. The Human Rights Commission is really used to get people that have done nothing wrong. They use it just to get even. That's what that is. It is not the Charter of Human Rights. That is the Human Rights Commission. This is the famous paragraph, the disgusting paragraph that people had to fight to get rid of. That's the Human Rights Commission, okay?
This really came about in out of the blue in one of the Human Rights Commission tribunals.
Yes.
I happened to be there.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Now, how far back did they actually put it in?
That must have been
10 years
almost
ago?
10 years ago.
Yes, and look how long it took to get rid of it. You know, I'm sorry. Some people are like sheep, unfortunately. So yes, the government is moving to a police state. Now, who have heard here of Edward Greenspan? Okay, you all know who he is? I'm just reading one paragraph from him, okay? And it was in Maclean's. There is a land where the government can arrest non-citizens, throw them in jail for an indefinite period of time, and then remove them from the country, all in secrecy. There is a land where, for certain people, civil liberties and rights of due process don't exist. No, this is not China or Cuba, this is Canada. A country I believed understood the transcendent importance of safeguarding civil liberties. But against those whom Ottawa secretly determines are a threat to national security, the government can act, and is now acting in alarming ways. Has Canada gone mad? Shades of Guantanamo Bay, where the U.S. has imprisoned hundreds of suspected terrorists without a trial. And we're no different. So, when Rocco Galati, and who knows who he is a leading constitutional lawyer. He is acting for the Bank of Canada presently, so that we can again use our Bank of Canada, and it wouldn't cost us $50 billion. We're paying $50 billion every year in interest. What could that do for the natives, for the roads, for whatever? We're paying it in interest to the Goldman Sachs that have taken over our bank. Just taking it over like that. And Rocco Galati is our lawyer. Okay? So this is what he told us. About 4 years ago, he gave a talk at Bloor Collegiate to a bunch of activists, not just activists, there was a whole room full of them. And he said, you know, I cannot help those people in the West End Detention Center. He said they've been in there since 9/11, no charge, nothing from a lawyer. And he said, I was trying to help them. And he said, I got a phone call, and I know who phoned me. And he threatened the life of my teenage daughter if I helped those people in the West End Detention Center. He told us all. It's no secret. And he said, so I have to stop helping. They could be just rot in there for the rest of their lives. Nobody will ask or care. And he said, and I know who phoned me. So that was Rocco, and he is a highly respected constitutional lawyer in charge of a lawsuit against the Bank of Canada that are not obeying their charter. And his life was threatened. I talked to Linda McQuaig, who always did articles about the bank, and I talked to her a long time ago. About 10 years ago, we were in the same meeting, and I said, Linda, I don't hear any of your articles anymore about the bank. What's happened? This is what she told me. My teenage daughter's life has been threatened. If you don't do what you are told, you will get threats. So it's like everybody's walking around. It's nice, it's lovely. Everything in the garden's lovely. The CBC is a prime example of politically correct, mediocre music, news, whatever, if you can call it that. When you are left with political correctness, you come right down to mediocrity. There is nothing that will have honor anymore. There is nothing that can be gained by, having your morals about you. Political correctness is the first form of censorship. You learn it as a little baby, so that you're totally intimidated before you even grow up. So that's what's happening. Now, here's what happened. I still have the picture. This guy that's now almost 30, this is what happened to him. This is Omar Khadr, okay? This is a picture of him wounded on the battlefield. The day he could have died right there beside his father in his own country. And when they came up to him, and he was gut wounded, chest wounded, whatever, 15, he comes under child soldiers, sorry. They never should have done what they did to him. He should have been shifted over to the child soldier. And there he is on the ground, wounded, enough to die, could have died there, and he said to them, kill me. His father had already died. They saved him as an example. And what has he gone through? The tortures, the humiliation. How old is he now? 26, 27? I lost track. He's been hounded and used as an example for all those years. He would have been better off if they had killed him. What they did was illegal. They should have handed him over as a child soldier. Disgusting. It's disgusting. How can we it's a blot on humanity. We're supposed to be evolved. No, we're not. We have technology, yes we do. But we don't have a civilization. No, we don't. And Canada's no better than the other places. And the natives are still 5 more want to kill themselves this week. Children, okay? So how bad does it have to be? The only people that I can equate that to right now are the Palestinians. Excuse me. We're no better than what's happening to the innocent people in Palestine. What did they do wrong? They lived there. That was the crime. Anyway, so we're no better. And so I'll just give you an example of how the kind of people they pick up. You're going to love this. Okay, this is from my own report. Saturday, June the 3rd, not a couple of years ago, 17 men arrested by CSIS. One had a messy house. That was the charge. A messy house. Another had an 18-wheeler parked in his driveway. CSIS arrested him. One was an engineer with Atomic Energy of Canada. Arrested. One, an electrical engineer at Ryerson. Another, a health sciences student at McMaster. All arrested. Their homes were stormed, front and back doors broken in. I mean, why knock when we can knock it out? You know, why knock? Let's do the big terror thing. We'll just jump through the door, beat everything down. Their homes were stormed, front and back doors broken in, while they were in the home. This is another tactic, so that you're almost dead from the shock. Usually at night when you're sleeping or you're with the kids or whatever. This is like some horrible movie, okay? And you don't have Arnie there to save you, okay? These idiots break down the door. Their homes were trashed. And what did Harper say about it? Now, this is what Harper said about it. They don't have our values. That was his reasoning behind arresting these people. So how did they find out that they don't have our values? Surveillance, the database, people going on the net, people with their little phones. Everything goes back to that base. You don't have any privacy, please, okay? So your safest bet, really, in fact, you wouldn't be nearly spied on if you went on your balcony and started doing semaphore. Nobody would pay any attention because they have your little phone. So your privacy is no longer there, and they can find out anything they don't like about you. Now, what did Margolis say? Oh, Eric Margolis, how many know who he is? He's a very honest columnist. He's been in the Middle East. He's got books, and he doesn't agree with what's going on at all. So, and Rocco Galati said the same. It's all about, and I think I've got this one with Rocco down here, or did I have the room to put it in? No, I may not. But anyway, no, it's not. But anyway, he said, it's to get, now this is what it is, and this is what 9/11 was. Anybody in the business, okay? 9/11, all these false flags, all these terrorist incidents, okay? All these big terrorist things that people watch on the news. What are they called by the people who do them and know what they're doing and plan them? They're called fundraisers. That's what 9/11 was, a fundraiser for Homeland Security. That's what they're called. It's a fundraiser. The more scared people are, the more money they're going to give to our budget. And when we get a really huge budget, everybody will be afraid of us. They're fundraisers. Every false flag. Ooh, terror again, it's terror. Oh God, give them more money. This is what people in the business call them. Fundraisers, so we'll get an enormous budget. And the more people that die, the better. So, I did an article a while ago, and it's entitled, What Will Happen to Dissenters When the Prisons Are Full? Now let me tell you where they're going to go. After the prisons are full, at one point in my career, well, when I was here at this university, I thought I was going to help people with drug problems. You know, I thought I might do some good anyway. So I became part of the therapy group down there at what they call CAMH now, you know, at that point. And I thought, oh my God, you know, I really want to help people. But of course, one night, this isn't part of my writing thing. I had my head beaten against the wall by one of these people. I said, you're not ready to go home yet? He heard me say that, and the patients got to vote him out. Oh, you want to hear insanity? In the therapy group at the 999, the patients can vote each other out. Well, you're okay. Go home for the weekend. He went home for the weekend, climbed on my roof, got in my bedroom at 2 a.m., but he was so loaded with Seconal, he used to shoot up and then get worried, panic, and take the Seconal to bring him down, so I knew he'd collapse eventually, and I called the police, but I had 2 little kids in my bedroom. And he said, if you scream, I'll strangle you now. If you go for the phone, I'll strangle you. So that's what happened, and I decided then and there, I don't give a damn if they drug each other out forever. Take an island, go there. I decided I'd go straight back into the writing, and so I went to sociology and I did the writing, okay? So that's this thing. Where will dissenters go when the prisons are full? They're going to be declared mentally ill in some way. Please understand. Yes, they will. Because what they do now is they get together in a big room and they vote in certain disorders. They've got disorders. There's a disorder about health food. There is. If you eat health food, then you have a problem. You have a mental disorder. I can name them. They invent more every time they have a meeting. So dissenters will end up not just in prison, but in mental homes, okay? And the disorders get, every year there's a few new disorders. So now, here's what is going to be classified as terrorism. Labor strikes, and this is from this lawyer that I know. Labor strikes can now be conveniently construed as terrorism. Civil disobedience is not allowed. Anti-globalization groups and environmental groups are now classed as the biggest threats to security. Greenpeace, think about it. Big threats to, but you have to ask whose security? Not ours, okay? Boycotts are terrorism. Political movements abroad, any resistance to any occupation and genocide is terrorism. If services are interrupted, that is terrorism. And all these, now remember, all these so-called terrorist activities that they've just invented, all these new laws for, they're covered already. They're covered already in the criminal code. Everything on this new terror list was already illegal here. Yes. Well, so if you don't put your head up, if you don't say anything, just be nice, meet nice people, be nice, and you keep your head down, nothing will happen, okay? Now, the other thing that they're, you know, this is an American paper, but this is about us. They have shown in the United States that every state that has allowed, especially a female, to carry a small gun, the crime has gone down 50%. They have the statistics. Okay, women are no longer afraid to go into underground parking, which is where they usually get killed, molested, whatever. So the states, about 40 of them, and I did learn to shoot in the States. I lived there for such a long time. The police taught me how to shoot. And if you're in a hurry, how to shoot without taking aim. I can do that. But anyway, these are the statistics. And in Switzerland, for those people who live on their couch vicariously and don't know anything about guns, I know George, my friend here is a fireman, yeah. Anyway, in Switzerland, it has been the law for the last 100 or more years. This is the law in Switzerland. You must have a firearm in your home. Every home must have a firearm.
The large institutions have to have a fallout shelter. I've been in one.
Yeah, right.
Fallout shelter. I like fallout shelter.
Yeah. So that is the law. You are required. And if you are a widow or something, then your oldest son would be in charge of the firearm. If nobody, then you are. So that's the statistics. And then they did an article a few years ago, Canadians are battling stringent gun laws. Let me ask you, how many times has Switzerland been invaded? That's right. So Canada might have a problem with that. But as I said, if you know how to handle a gun, you go to the cops, they will teach you. They have a range you can learn. Now, as soon as I do this paper, I'm going to give you your rules for anybody who writes. This is a few more facts that you might want to to know. FEMA concentration work camps have been set up in the States. They're hiring next year. And on these papers down here, this one here, it will tell you exactly the same thing. Bill C-124, they have already set up camps here. Just read the papers, and people who read the papers don't come back and fight with me. Well, it might say something in there. I can't read it through, or you can look them up on the net if it does. And so so FEMA is already doing that. We're doing it, okay? And this is what's happening in America. We only have the British North American Act. We don't really have a constitution. Sorry about that. But we don't have any of those amendments, okay? We have the British North American Act, and we have the Statute of Rights and Freedoms. In the States, they have 10 other amendments, and they also have, we don't have this here. Habeas corpus means, everybody's heard about it. Habeas corpus means that when you're accused of something, you have to be brought to court within a certain amount of time. You can't be left in the jails like those people in the West End detention. No, we don't even use habeas corpus. We don't have it, but we're not going to ever try and get it. It means have the body. They mean bring the body to court within a certain amount of time. That's habeas corpus. The other one they've gotten rid of, well, not officially, but they're not using it in the States, is posse comitatus. Now that means that the military cannot just walk into a town and take over the sheriff's work. It means a country cannot turn its military on its own citizens. That's what that means. They aren't abiding by that over there anymore either. But we don't have to worry because we never had them in the first damn place. We never had any of those kind of amendments. So what we've got is, and they'll invent another thing that says the same thing, trust me, the truth is no defense. They will bring it back in some way. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Now, has anyone ever heard of the law of forfeiture? Anybody? Okay.
That's in the States.
The law of forfeiture is also here. It's also here. It's called by another name. I forget the name that it's called, but it was brought in by Harris. And it's exactly the same as the law of forfeiture in the States. And it means this. If they are interested in jailing you, I'll just tell you now how it happens. You come home one night, as you're driving up your driveway, you see your garage doors open and there's a bunch of people in there. And they're standing around a table and you go in there and they're looking at nice big bags of drugs all over this table in your garage. At that moment, you have to leave your home right away with what's on your back. They take over your home, they take over your bank accounts, they take over everything. It's exactly the same here, okay? Now, the law of forfeiture used to be used on gangsters. Gangsters, the mafia, whatever. They got all their billions and they go back to Italy. Going to take the stuff, the funds with us. The law of forfeiture was to stop that. The law of forfeiture really was about grabbing the stuff from the gangsters before they move it overseas. Years ago, that's what it was for. But now it's used 50,000 times a year. In the States, it's used 20 or 30 times here. And this is what happens. If they want you, they set you up, okay? First of all, you are set up. And then you cannot go into your home. Here's the whole list here, okay? Before, in the beginning, it was only about the gangsters. And now there's 200 offenses you can commit. That means they can take everything you own. 200 offenses, okay? Now, of the money and your home and what they steal from you, okay, 80% of the seized assets go to the police and 20% to the prosecutor, okay? And they set people up, and you'll never hear about one of these in the paper. Never will you hear it mentioned in the paper that somebody has come under this law.
I think Robin Urbach has written about that in the Post.
Excuse?
Robin Urbach.
I don't know who that
She wrote
is.
about that in the Post not too long ago,
Oh, really? A boat?
about the forfeiture.
Oh, well, was he under that? Did he come under
No,
that law?
She gave a specific example. It's
Okay.
a reporter named Robin Urbach.
Okay, I don't know who that is, sorry. But they used it on that person, you're saying?
Mhm.
They used that law, yeah, of course. So, this is how it goes. You'll get a hearing, but you can be evicted right that same day that they have the drugs in your garage. You and your family have to leave the house, and they'll take your bank accounts, everything is seized, okay? They don't care if you haven't got a dime if you're on the street, that's what happens, it's seized, okay? They will break you. Now you go before a judge in 10 days, picked by the feds, the people who set you up pick the judge, you go before the judge, okay? And the ruling is usually in favor of forfeiture. So you forfeit everything that you built, you lose your property. Now listen, to lose it, you don't have to be convicted. No, you don't even have to be charged to lose everything, okay? So we're talking about the law as opposed to justice, okay? So you can lose everything, and even if they drop the charges, you're better off getting a hearing. But if they drop the charges, there's no trial, okay? If there is evidence, now here's how bad it is. If there is evidence that your property was used for an illegal purpose, say that, well, I had a house down there with a huge garden, and there was a guest house, and this young guy lived in it. And one night I'm going through the yard, it was enormous, and I saw the marijuana plant, you know, somebody planted it under the tree, there it was. So I went to him and I said, wait a minute, you're in the guest house, you can't plant anything in my yard, because I'm liable for that. If you rent your house and somebody starts growing marijuana in the yard or does anything else illegal, you are liable, not them. You are liable because you own the place. So that's why I said to him, he said, how did you recognize that? I said, come on, I'm an old hippie. It's marijuana, get it out. So I would have been liable, okay? So that's what you would do, something like that. And even if you have no knowledge of it, you're liable, okay? And you will get everything taken, okay? And they don't have to prove that you were involved in any illegal activity, okay? You have to prove your innocence. Very rarely does this happen. And, but nobody ever gets compensation. It just goes, what they keep doing is, even if they think you're gonna win, they keep appealing. They appeal and appeal and appeal until you haven't got a dime left. That's it. That's the law of forfeiture.
Do we have a record of how often this has happened in Canada?
Oh, they're not going to give you, you'd have to dig around for that. You'd have to go to the courts, see if you can get out any of the records. No, I don't, but I know in the States it's 50,000 times a year. So it would be, even if it was 1/10 here, that's a pretty good number. But you will never hear about it anywhere, okay? And they can take everything you own, even if you're not liable. That's how it works. Now we're going to get to how to protect yourself from all this hideous police crap, which is what it is, okay? Now, so there's no First Amendment here. Free speech, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, we don't have that here. We have zip, okay? So we don't have to worry about breaking it, we don't have it, all right? So here's how it goes. Say that you have done a little blog. You're not aware of all these laws. You've done a little blog on the net, or you've done an article for a community paper. You decided to be very daring, you know, whatever. So they come to your door one night ceases. We're here. We want to see your work. We noticed that you had done such and such in that paper, or you've got this on a blog. Now here, please take out your pencils and write this down if you're ever planning on doing this. Okay? So, they're going to come in and they want your records. They want what's on your computer. Everybody has one. And they want other records, but for sure they want the computer. And they want, somebody told them about this article and you said blah, blah, blah. Ooh, we want the copy of the article. We want what you've got on your blog, your computer. Give it to us now. So now, start writing, okay? When you hand over your records to the police, because they will get them, ask them this. This is what you have to do. This is the procedure if you want to escape from anything like forfeiture. What is their purpose in meeting you? What you want to know, what is your purpose for being here? And you can record this. You have the right to turn on a little tape machine and record it. Because when they have their eye on you, you can end up with nothing. No reputation, no money, no career, nothing, okay? So what is their purpose? Why do they want your records? They have to tell you this. They can't just come in and say, give us this, give us. They have to tell you this, okay? And you are allowed to record it, okay? Why do they want your records? Whom are they investigating? In other words, you're asking them, is it me that you are pointing out, or are you investigating someone I know? So you would say to them, whom are they investigating? The next, and you can tape, as I said, you can tape this meeting. So always have a little tape deck there. What? Now here we go with someone who's got a source. Here we go. Will your source be charged? If it is about you and you've done the article, you have to ask them. Will your source be charged? Now here's a very important question. Is the police operation to plug a leak, or is it genuine? Because the ones just plugging a leak have nothing to do with you. They shouldn't have anything to do with you.
What does that mean then, specifically?
They don't really have the legal right to shut off the article or whatever's on the blog, but they're doing it to help themselves with some other thing they're doing. It's part of it. Let's plug that leak,
Oh, I see.
and then so-and-so won't hear this, and then we can do that, one of those, okay? They're never straight out. These people are not taught to be straight, okay? Or is it a genuine, okay? This operation is a genuine. Now, here is the only exception when you can give away your informer or your source. This is the only one, and it makes sense. If somebody comes to you, even if you have a tiny little community paper, and they say to you something like, you know what, I have information on so-and-so is going to be robbed next week. I'm talking a little paper now, not a bomb. Somebody comes to you, you're in the community, I've got information for you. Somebody's planning on robbing that home next week. Then you have to give that to the cops right away. You cannot write about it, wait for it. If you find out anything that means harm to anyone, you've got to go straight to the police with it. That's it. No exception, okay? So that's the exception to that law, that you can't give away your source, okay? Now, when they start putting your things together, this is what you have to make clear to them. You have the right to ask them, and you have to be there. When they're taking your stuff, this is what you say to them. Everything they seize, you have to watch it being sealed in a package of some kind, plastic envelopes, whatever they're using. They have to seal your papers in front of you. In other words, they're supposed to be bringing this back to another office. They are not supposed to be shuffling through and reading this stuff, okay? So you have the right. They're just messengers. These are not the big guys. They come out, they're the little delivery boys, okay?
When,
They
when-
have to-
when you say that it has to be used packaged or what?
Well, they're sealing up. They have to seal up your file,
When
okay?
you say seal, do they like put a label on it, then like a seal, like a legal
Not
seal?
a label, and it has to be in something that nobody can open it until it gets to the
see.
appropriate, okay? What, they bring all that stuff with them. But if you don't know, they won't do it, okay? Whatever you don't know is good for them. So they have to seal everything as they're gathering it together. And they must produce a warrant. Must. Sorry, I should have mentioned that first. They must produce a warrant, okay? And you have to be read your rights, what they call in the States Miranda. You have to be read like what you are, what's the word? What you can do, what your rights are now that your stuff is being taken, okay? Now, they may not take you with them, and they don't have to. But you have to be there when they're seizing and wrapping it up. Now, if they refuse to seal anything, or they're not giving you your rights, you can call your lawyer. Yes, you can, right in front of them. You can call your lawyer. You can keep taping them. When they say no, you can't this or that, you can keep taping them. They can't take it, okay? And if they say, now listen, if it's up in the bedroom, you got it somewhere, you have to take us where you're keeping this stuff. You have to help us. But you don't have to help them unless they have another little paper, okay? So if they have what they call an assistance order, you have to show them where you've got all your little hiding places. If they don't have that, you can stand there and say, well, I'm not helping you. You think you know where it is, go and get it. So those two things can happen. Okay? Unless they produce an assistance order, you can refuse to help them you're not going to show them anywhere. They get what they can get.
This is all means that they haven't yet arrested you, right?
Oh, they're not, usually they're not going to take you with them, okay? Your lawyer, I'm not to the end yet, we'll get there, okay? You are not obligated to leave with them. But if you don't know that, they expect you. If they say, okay, come on, come with us, you'll go. But if you know this law, no, I'm not leaving my home. You don't have to take me. I don't have to go with you. So that's what you can say to them. And if they don't let you, call your lawyer and say they are detaining you. Your lawyer can come, okay? He can come to your address at the time they're doing all this, but he can't come inside. But he can stand on the veranda while they're doing all this to you, okay? So keep your lawyer's number with you all the time. Especially if you've got your little phone, put his number there, okay? But while they're searching, he can't come in. Once it's over, he can come in. And they can, if you don't obey all of these, they can use one of these that you don't obey to lay another charge on you. That's what I'm saying. You have to remember what your rights are, what you can do, what you can't. So you can take notes of what they're doing and sign it, or you can tape what they're doing, okay, yourself, okay? You can ask questions, but let me give you a hint. Be very nice. Do not get angry. Do not have any kind of an attitude. It's not going to help, okay? So make nicey. You can tape everything, you can take notes, and but I'm saying, unless it's about harm that's coming to someone, then you don't have to give them your source at all. If it has to do with a prediction of some kind of harm, you have to. In fact, if they don't come to your door and you learn this, you have to go to them and say, this is what I just heard. You cannot wait, you cannot write about it. No, you have to let them know immediately if it means harm to anybody, one person, a coliseum of people, whatever. You have to let them know, all right? So, I know this, so I'm just telling you. They can get the same evidence from other sources, usually, but they prefer to make trouble for a reporter. So even if they've already gotten evidence from some other people, a witness of some kind, they're going to come to you anyway, okay? That's how it goes. So, so now here's what else you can do. If you ever get documents that are that important, please, if you have a trusted friend, if you're lucky enough to have one, put the important documents with them so that you're not surprised one day and they just take them from you. Give them to an important friend. Please. And only in order to assist can force you to help them. Okay? And never write a story about anything without letting your source know when you're writing it and where it's going to appear, so that they don't get a big shock. You have to let them know if you're doing any article when it's coming up, where it's going to be. And if you don't give them up and it's that important, yeah, you could end up in jail. Yep, I know that's what they do in the States all the time. You won't, and see, so, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're either sunk as a reporter or you go to jail. So it's not, you know, it's like the old Chinese curse, like I said. Yes, it is an interesting life. It's exciting. You meet famous people, exciting people. And of course, you have to know how to write. This kind of stuff is not written by the same people who say there's a little bite of 2 paragraphs, so yeah, somebody got hit by a car, blah. They just give facts, blah, blah, blah. No, you have to be able to write. Because if you're a reporter and you're into being enthusiastic about what you're doing, then you have to have a talent for gripping people's interest. You can't write like people do in the Star, Please, or the Globe, or any of those, you know. They give you the bare facts, there's nothing interesting about it. You're gonna have to be able to write, to get people enthused about your cause, whatever it is. You know, you're gonna have to tell them, this happened to this poor guy who's tortured so many days. That's how you write if you're an investigative reporter. You want them to care. That's why you're doing this. So it's not the kind of thing, I've never written for a normal paper, trust me. I would be so bored, it would be so boring. I couldn't do it. And of course, and you can make your articles as long as you want. If you're writing for an investigative paper and you say, look, I've got 10 pages, they'll say, okay, take it away. So it's wonderful in a way, but as I said, it's like everything else, it's risky. It is risky. So, and people, yeah, reporters I was never in a war zone ever. I was, you know, I would not do that, because when I started it, I hadn't even had children, I had done nothing. I thought, I don't need to die in some country, you know. Somebody asked me, oh, would you like to go to Afghanistan? I said, oh God, no. Okay, it was at the top of the list, Afghanistan. I said, no, give me Australia. No, I'm not going to Afghanistan. So you do have choices, okay? So now has everybody got that down?
Actually, could you repeat
That's
the last one?
Pardon?
Could you repeat the last one? Is the police operation with what a week, or is it a genuine?
Oh, you should have put your head up there. I can't hear you. What did you say?
Oh, you made some suggestions if people were to come and want your records and then.
Yeah, they have to have a warrant.
A series of questions. The last one was, and I didn't get all of it, is the operation to plug the leak?
Oh, to plug a, no, you're asking them, is this a genuine operation about me? Or is it just about something you're involved in now that has nothing to do with me, but it would be convenient if I shut up? That's what you're asking them.
The other one was plugging the leak, or if it's
Plugging a leak, something convenient for them. They want to stop you, whatever you're doing, because it'll be easier for them than to find what they want to find if you stop stirring it up. That's plugging a leak. Something got out. They didn't want anybody to know. So that's what that is, but necessarily not something to do with you. So you have your right to ask them any questions really that you want, but these are the important ones. And they have to reply. They can't just say, no, we're not going to answer. They have to answer. And that's why you've got the tape recorder. That's why you're doing that. So as I said, we don't have any right to bear arms. We don't have any freedom of speech thing. We, as far as I know, we don't even talk about habeas corpus. And it's not like America. Let me tell you something. This is like Britain, okay? America has a republic. They never wanted a democracy, because democracy can be paid off mob rule. There's really no democracies on the globe, okay? There's not any right now, okay? But they wanted a constitutional republic. That's much better than a democracy. A democracy, a city-state like in Greece, yeah, you can have big referendums if it's not a whole country. That's a democracy, but a constitutional republic means you are keeping a rein on the government. They can't just say to you, okay, 95% people voted for this, but it could be a horrible law. You understand? Constitutional republic, you keep a rein on the government. And they can only go so far, and then you can stop them. So that's what that is about. But what I'm saying here is, this is what will happen. These are the methods of censorship, okay? First one, you have to be surveilled. They don't know anything unless they surveil you. So now they're getting all that for free on the net. Now, what does www mean? Before the net was public, this meant worldwide wiretap. And the CIA had the net. And then they decided, let's make the fishing pond bigger. Let's give it to the public. They're not going to close down the net. That's like closing down the biker bar when you're trying to know what their bikers are doing. This is like that. The net is not going to be shut down. It's a big fishing pond. So this is your surveillance, okay, and your cell phones, which, by the way, don't sleep with one near your head. They cause cancer. But that's another class, okay? Surveillance, and then they use the censorship methods, hoping that this will work. Intimidation. Intimidation means you know you could lose your job if you say the wrong thing. You won't have friends anymore, okay? It's like coercion. They're all means of intimidation, so you will, on your own, say what you're supposed to say. This is learned. As you grow up, it's learned, okay? And then, if that doesn't work, then if you're in the airport, you might get a taser. You might get one of those to help you out. And if they have any means of news or talking about you, you'll get a character assassination. Oh my God, this guy's not credible. Look what he did. And they'll actually tell lies. And so this is what happens. You get the character assassination, all the gossip, you know. You get that. That's all pressures to shut up, okay? Then, if you're really annoying them, you'll get what's called behavior modifications. That's a nice word for mind control, okay? Behavior modification. Yeah, they might say you've got an illness and they put you on some SSRI so that you do stupid things and end up being put in jail. So that's what they'll do to you there, okay? In fact, one doctor put a bill through in the United States saying that anyone who didn't believe in their story of 9/11 had a mental disorder. And they would be given free drugs for their disorder. That was a doctor that wanted to put that bill through. So behavior modification will come after that. And because they get really worried, there's always a drone. Okay. Oh yeah, I was out at the barbecue. The drone, yeah. They're doing that all the, no, there's 30,000 in the States. There's 30,000 drones wandering around the States now. And recently in Britain, one of them hit a plane. They were lucky the plane didn't go down.
That might
So-
happen more often now.
But they said it will happen a lot more often. So they've got the drones, okay? And then they can pick you up and you can be put in CAMH and you'll be given your behavior modification, okay? Electric shock or SSRI, something that so that nobody will believe you, because that's what they're using now. Oh, and if you're part of a protest, ooh, I went to the Montebello protest about 2007, where all the RCMP were wearing the same boots, and they were using rubber bullets, and people, their eyes were practically burnt all the time. We had to have vehicles with big jugs of water to rinse out the sprayed eyes. It was horrible. They surrounded the whole damn town. Nobody could get in. But because I spoke French, they were giving money to some of the locals to guard the roads. Because I spoke French and my friend spoke French, they told us the back way to get in. So we managed to get in. But it was horrible. They used the rubber bullets and they hurt. People were being carried away out of the protest group, carried off the field, so to speak. And that's where the RCMP were all wearing the same shoes. So in the end, if you're that important, if you're like a Kennedy and none of this works, then they just kill you. A happy little accident. Accident. In fact, it's like the list I have of all, because I was writing a lot about Clinton when I was in the States. I used to call him Billy Bob. And he had 49 casual acquaintances. They all died within 3 years, very mysteriously. I had the whole list of all his people that he knew. And so at one point, the Russians were, after the Lewinsky thing, when he bombed that drug place in Sudan where they only had drugs for the people, and he bombed it, and the Russians said, oh, can somebody talk to Bill Clinton? We think he's had a sperm buildup, and it's making him behave very strangely. Can somebody, they said that, we think he has a sperm buildup, and it's affecting his mind. Anyway, so that's all the things you're going to come up against. So surveillance and censorship work together, okay? They can't, without getting the big database, they can't do anything to you, get it? So these little Uber cars, the net, don't put anything personal on the net. Don't do your banking on the net. Yeah, my DVDs are on the net, but that's not about me personally. Do not do these personal things on the net, okay? They know about that, they know about everything. So I don't think I've missed anything here. And let me think. Oh yeah. So this is how you're going to survive the police state, because the police state is not going to stop. It's just going to get worse, okay? And there is no of those amendments in Canada. So now, if anybody still wants to, go out and be the little reporter, yeah, go ahead and do it. But just keep these notes in your file, okay? Keep them there, and if you have any friends who do that, keep them for those friends. Now, any questions from anybody, since I'm at, yes?
When you're saying that in the United States, habeas corpus and all the other amendments are such a good thing for them, is
They
the
were.
Constitution being dismantled already in the
I'm
United
saying they're
States?
ignoring them, just like they're ignoring that we own our own bank and we don't have to pay $50 billion in interest every year. Think what we could do for the natives if we had that interest money. See, the problem with the whole world is this, in case you people ever get to the moon or Mars. The problem with this planet is this. We are in the hands of the money lenders. Those people that I gave to you, private central banks, these are the people running the world, and the Bilderbergers. The Bilderberger thing was all nonsense. I worked for one of them. I knew them. They got together in '54. My boss was a Bilderberger. Sir, Berkeley, Ormerod. They have to answer to these banking families. Yes, they do. And so does the Queen, and so does the Pope. Please understand that. This world is mortgaged to the hilt. And every country now, since they got rid of Syria, Libya, Iraq, they all had national banks. They had no debt. Everybody had free university, free homes. They shared in the resources of their country, so that's why those are gone. The money lender is running the planet. He decides the wars, these people. This last sheet here, please look at this when you get home. That's our whole problem. And all these people, the royalty, the Bilderbergers, Kissinger, they're part of the banking cartel. We are mortgaged to the hilt. We can afford everything we want, but they're telling us we can't. Why is that? Because they're vampires. They are $50 billion a year in interest when we could get the money from our own bank with no interest. Understand? Every country has the right to produce its own money at no interest. That's normal. Lincoln did it, they killed him. Kennedy did it, they killed him. 2 other presidents, they killed the 2 of them. They all said the same thing. America and other countries have the right to print their own money with no interest on it. So as you get deeper into this particular course, you will find out that these people who are finding out all this, it's basically about what you own and what they can take from you, using any excuse, whatever. That's what it's about. The money lenders run every country now. Every country. We're mortgaged. The planet is mortgaged, and they tell us it's even against our evolution. Oh, you can't have a telescope out in space. We can't afford it. Yes, we can. Money is a medium of exchange. That's all it is. If we decided it would be bottle caps and everybody agreed, that would be our money. Money should never have an intrinsic value. If you don't know monetary history, then you don't know the causes of anything. You have to know monetary history. These people own the world. They bought the media. They buy the universities. That's why you are left in the dark. That's got to stop. This country used to print half of its money, at least half, interest-free. We can't anymore. They simply took over our bank. Without saying anything, we didn't vote. We own all the shares in the Bank of Canada, us, the people. We own all the 12,000 shares in the Bank of Canada. They are running all this. You have to be kept in the dark. You're not supposed to know your rights, and they will get after you if you write about money, if you write about what's happened to our money supply and who's got it, and you make people understand that, you will be targeted, okay? You won't learn it in this university. You learn financial schemes. That's what you learn in this university, and that's what's behind all the other freedoms that are taken away, okay? So that's it, folks. Thank you very much. That's the lecture.
There's a scheme going on where it's been happening since last year, where we need to take taxes from the airport and the swipe your card, the whole of the bank account is clean out.
That's
I
right.
already told them it's a
Next
scheme
week,
going on.
if you want to learn how to be healthy in spite of the fallout, please come. I will be telling you what to do with the food now that we've had 5 years of fallout from Fukushima.